Hey, what's up everyone? It's Eddie from Eddie's Emporium and welcome to episode 17 of the Beyond the Booster vlog. It's been a moment, it's been a minute. I've been on holiday to Iceland, being very spoiled by my lovely partner. Again, a 1 week there, beautiful country. I won't get over the price of how expensive it is. I mean, it was like £12 for a punnet of blueberries, and I think that's mentally scarred me, personally. I'm usually one for treating my personal income as monopoly money when I'm abroad. You know, you get a bit happy. Yeah, that place humbles you pretty quickly. I can see why it's the second highest in terms of costs for living in the world. Like, it's nuts. I don't think it's Europe. I think it's like globally. It's wild. It is paired with obviously second highest salary in the world, so it's a crazy place if you like a geology, meteorology. Like, there's volcanoes galore. There's like 11,000 mini earthquakes a day. It's literally being torn apart by two tectonic plates, and you've got things like volcanic springs, glacier hiking. I was on a snowmobile on a glacier. Like, it was wild. Like, it's, if you like hiking and being out in the wilderness, like, that is like your potential dream. Like, you know, you've got things like the Alps and all them kind of real big nature reserves, but Iceland's just so cool, man. It's got everything except blueberries for a fair price. So obviously in the week that I've been gone, there has been sales, there's been obviously movement on the business. I've came back and started processing all them orders. The bulk of them now are up to date. In between that time, I bought some cards off my friend, some graded cards. As you can see here, I think I can get the light in there. Got a Pikachu, you've got a tag Japanese, and then we've got PSA Charizard, always nice. I'm trying to get the light to hit it properly. Don't think that's going to work there, but then we've got Deoxys, one of my personal favourites, these arts here, and then the Darkrai, probably one of my favourites from the Crown Zenith set. It's so cool. Darkrai doesn't get half as many arts as he deserves. He's do so much with him. When you've got the things like Gengar, and you've got like Haunter and Ghastly getting all the attention from like kind of the kind of ghostly side of things. Darkrai, dude, man, oh man, come on Nintendo, come on Pokemon Company, give them some more attention. The other ghosts, they need it. They're starving. And obviously you have the new Pokemon set that's just been released or announced in Japan. Is it Mega Dream? Mega Dream EX, yeah. So that one, we'll get into that one in a second. But yeah, I mean, obviously in terms of me, it's always quite full on when you come back from annual leave. You're obviously running a business and you're also working a full-time job. So I've had to manage that time quite well in terms of catching up with my general inbox, but also catching up with orders, fulfillments, all the in-between stuff that comes in with running a business. So I'm feeling the burnout, I'm feeling the kind of strain, and sometimes it's you've got to listen to your body and take a little bit of a break. So, you know, taking it step by step, but now as I'm starting to get back into the swing of being back from my holiday, it's nice to be able to kind of start getting back to doing something you love. So bear with me if you have any outstanding questions or anything like that, or, you know, drop me a message, say hi, I'll get back to you straight away. So in terms of the TCG news of the world, as I just mentioned, you've got the new Mega Dream EX that's been announced. I think you're getting a Mega Dragonite and a Mega Gengar that's been announced so far, which looks very cool. With the Mega Dragonite, when it first got announced, I'm going to be real, like, I really didn't like the design, but as more kind of angles and concept design and fan art coming out about Dragonite, it starts to make a bit more sense with the whole kind of ear situation, extra wings, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it looks pretty nice. Again, obviously you have the Mega Gengar, which everyone's going to be after. There was a really cool fan art of Mega Gengar from this set, or potential set, that was released, and there's a side-by-side comparison. I'll try and find the image of the side-by-side comparison, and the fan art looks really cool, and I know Nintendo, and this is where like a lot of people at the community get a bit, I wouldn't say peeved at fan art now, because when somebody makes a really good fan art, people now know Nintendo won't go near that. And I think that's a bit of like a, hypothetical situation, because recently there'd been the scandal of someone or an illustrator almost copying a like for like fan art, and I don't really know the exact particular, but when I do my editing, I'll pop up a comparison. And Nintendo had to take it down and obviously do the apology situation. And people just feel now that if there's going to be a really cool kind of like Pokemon that's in the world, like how you get your illustration rares now, and if fan art makes it, Nintendo are going to stay straight away from it. There's a really cool Feraligatr fan art where it was going through like kind of like an Amazon swamp, and quite similar to how you have the Charizard from Phantasmal Flames kind of having the evolution line there. It was like you had the Totodiles, and all your other kind of evolutions in there, kind of amongst the river and the riverbank. It was very nice, and it was weird. The comment section were, how would you say, like almost like it was bittersweet. They were like, "Oh, dude, this is so cool. I really wish this was real. Why have you done it?" Almost. And it's kind of a bit weird where obviously you got the Nintendo situation with their legal patent requests for like the video games. Now they're obviously not wanting to touch fan arts, and it's kind of like people feel that they're kind of clutching at straws to kind of justify like, don't do this because Nintendo will kind of throw a dummy out the pram. Because I mean, you just had Pokérant have to rebrand to, I think, is it Randolph or Rand.com, because he got a cease and desist from Nintendo, which is obviously wild, but again, it's expected. Like if you use your name in someone else's business, in your business venture, and you're making money off it, and they're not, you do the same. That's why Ages Emporium is completely separate to any entity in which I want to relate to in a TCG, because I want my brand to remain my brand consistently. So it's quite weird to feel that way about things, but you do see so many Poke vendors, Poke this and Poke that, kind of pop up, and start to see some One Piece ones as well. But yeah, I'm quite happy when I see things come out like that, not for obviously the loss of someone's brand, but for me not being a Poke named person, because it would just be so stressful. Just the experience. Imagine me being the size I am right now, and then Nintendo and Pokemon sending me a cease and desist. I would cack my pants, because you just know you're not winning that, and it'd be real disheartening. It seems Pokemon have also kind of cracked the formula on theme decks and selling theme decks. For the longest time, they have still remained on the shelf for this entire kind of bull market, and as things start to die down, and I loosely say die down because it's still manic. Still, everyone's saying the Pokemon scene's crashing, but you never see anything on the shelves anymore or anything like that, and you probably won't for a long, long time. So it's a bit of is it crashing or is it just correcting, and we still don't have the supply there? I think it is the latter personally, but for the theme decks now, I think they're starting to sell exclusive cards within the theme deck. So the one that springs to mind is this Haunter deck that has came out in Japan, and I think it's coming out as a deck in English, and it's a really cool Haunter, kind of like a bit more comic book drawn rather than the kind of hyper realistic spooky ones that you seem to get from like the new Mega Dream EX. And it looks good, it's a nice one, but it's been sold out pretty much instantly from when it was announced, and obviously orders could come up. So I feel a bit indifferent about this, because from a collector's perspective, you can kind of swallow the pill of like, oh, it's a really cool card and everyone wants it, so it's going to be expensive or whatever, but you're kind of taking it away from the players. And I'm going to struggle to feel that if it's a popular product, scalpers and people buying out Pokemon right now as they are, and the trends that we've seen, are going to massively impact the player base, because while the player base has been impacted, and obviously not half as much as kind of like your collectors, your average Joes who just want to open packs and, you know, enjoy that, they will start to probably feel that pinch if now Pokemon are saying you get this really cool exclusive card with the theme deck. Everyone's going to buy the theme deck, you know, myself included. If I like a card that's exclusive in the theme deck and it's, you know, 15 quid, you're going to buy it. But that's where you get the bad eggs, and the bad eggs are going to be like, well, I could just buy up everything in the store. People will spend, you know, maybe 15, 20 quid on that card. And that's the bit where I'm a bit like concerned about, because the player base who support the actual game and the gameplay of it, not being a player myself, it already feels a bit sucky. Oh yeah, so this one's a bit outdated, but obviously been away, but I'll cover it anyway. So when you send away to PSA, or you send off to PSA now, apparently when you get your grades, even if you don't do that kind of like immediate sell-through scheme with them, they'll send you an offer for your cards. So, you know, you send off this card raw to get graded, and even if it's a 9 or whatever, they'll send you an offer for your card. And I was looking at quite a few people who were testing that and had offers just through like TikTok and stuff like that, and obviously people can glamorize it, so, you know, don't take it as gospel. But apparently they're offering, you know, like 90% upwards for the value of your card. And I know in America and GameStop they sell mystery slab bundles, and I know that they've been sold out quite frequently, if not just consistently sold out whenever a stock comes in. So they're scrambling to get hold of stock that they can do this partnership with GameStop for. But it was quite interesting to see that they offer more than vendors, and there's obviously that ethical, like, moral ground where you kind of like, should a grader be kind of buying up the market in which they grade the cards in? So, you know, they're not to get, okay, we'll get a tinfoil hat on, specifically a tinfoil hat just for like covering it. But if you send someone a 9 and they buy it off you, there's in theory nothing stopping PSA buying it at a 9 and potentially upgrading it to a 10. But alternatively, like, you know, you have that flip side where they're also incentivized to upcharge you, because, like, say if you get a card that I think in the UK through their scheme, I think it's either over $200 or £200, they'll upcharge you for the insurance of getting that back to you because of the value of the contents, it being X amount based on its grade. So they still make money from you, so I can't see it being like a crazy situation where they're going to do something silly. But it's going to be interesting how it impacts vendors specifically, because myself, like, I'm a, you know, e-commerce vendor, but when you go to a store and you have vendors in which obviously buy and sell cards, if 50% of people are already selling the cards that maybe they got a 9 on or a 10 at 90% of value, that's almost half the supply that's going away from vendors at shows. Like, it does have the capacity to massively impact vendors' lifestyle, vendors' income, who kind of live and breathe the circuit and have also, you know, and I know there's some vendors that really overcharge and anything like that, but like, Pokemon and collecting wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for the vendors doing all these circuits for, you know, the past 25, nearly 30 years now. And it would be quite a shock to see that be so impacted, because PSA is the go-to grading company, as much as you do have the big three and other emerging companies. It's quite concerning, because obviously it's, you know, we don't know where it could go, but it's got the capacity to massively impact the average kind of vendor, the average collector, because suddenly you just have a corporate entity buying up 50% of the supply. But on the flip side, if you're an average Joe and you have a card in which a vendor wouldn't be interested in, you can also just sell that card on quite quickly, as long as that service is still there. So there's a lot of kind of ways that you can analyze this and think, you know, this is a good and or a bad thing, or potentially both at the same time. But it's going to be interesting to see how this develops and if it's going to be consistent over the next kind of like couple of years or so, because yeah, this would slowly take away a lot of the supply from the market. And even though the supply is still there, it would give corporate entities a lot more footing in the graded and singles market because it's still high profit. But also with that increased prices for graded cards on the card circuit, the card show circuit, because there would just be less supply. And even though the same amount is on the global market, the in-person market might be affected by that quite considerably. But that's just a thought, a soundbite on that. Let me know if you've got any interesting insights or thoughts on how this could potentially increase or decrease the graded card market. Because as a person that's slowly starting to creep into that area, just again, business makes money. It's a real high profit area when you do sell cards of the graded type. It is quite worrying to see maybe some big corporate fish kind of come into the scene. And on the note of slabs, let me tell you something why I'm a bit like, it's a little mini rant, this one. Vinted are very funny in the way of business. Like, and if you're not from the UK or don't have Vinted in your country, it's essentially kind of like a Craigslist or, you know, Gumtree. You know, you list your thing on, it's a lot more like a car boot sale, yard sale if you're American, and you would just put your stuff on there. It has to be your photos and everything like that, and it has to be like kind of legitimate. And I see more and more of these kind of AliExpress fake slabs pop up and fake cards, and it's quite worrying because if you're a parent or you're not as well versed in the scene, like somebody passed me a really good fake Charizard that's, you know, from back in the day. I've not had enough experience holding them both at a point in which I can kind of tell one's immediately fake. Now, I know the obvious signs, but they're getting better and better. And I saw some, it was like manga rares from One Piece go up on the store. And now Bandai will be one of the hardest companies to copy because they put so much time and effort into the texturing and quality of their prints. But this print wasn't bad at all. It just didn't have the kind of the etching that the others did. And the way that they get around this as a listing is they put it up as a proxy or a fake and on listings. And I don't know, I don't really like this. And, you know, this might divide the room here, but as a kind of out and out collector, I don't like the idea of people being deceived. And while you could buy this fake PSA 10 slabbed manga rare for £10 to £12, which obviously isn't priced at a real one, and it is listed as a fake. I'll put the anonymized listing here. I don't like the fact that somebody could buy that with an ill intention, take that to a market or trade with someone that's less interested and more trusting, or less well versed in what is real and what is fake, but it's just a trusting person or a young person, young minds, and lose out on real cards because a person with a bad intention took advantage of them. And so I wanted to see what Vinted would do, and so I reported it on 2 occasions now. And the first one was about 6-7 weeks ago on a separate fake card, and I didn't get the response. They just said it didn't breach community guidelines, which was quite surprising because when you do report a Vinted listing, it has a fake and a replica or fake and unlicensed option. And so selected them on both occasions. Again, as I mentioned, didn't breach. So I did it for this one because this one surely, like, you're not only doing a fake Bandai card, but you're doing a fake certification from a company, and it has like a fake authentication number and everything like that. This is why it becomes such a grey area for me. So I reported it, and within 24 hours, they've come back, and again, I'll put the response here. and come back and have just said, no, it's fine. It doesn't breach community guidelines. And it just really shocks me that Vinted, because these companies usually really want to stay away from fake merchandise, because what they don't want is Bandai, Nintendo, or anyone else knocking on their door being like, why are you letting this happen? You just wouldn't, would you? Because it's just a bad association to have, that your marketplace willingly sells fakes and replicas, especially when people can be took advantage of, and people are quite regularly took advantage of. It doesn't feel good, especially when there's a lot of distrust in the TCG space at the moment. But yeah, let me know if you think that maybe I'm overthinking, I'm overreacting, but it just feels a bit icky. So that's it for this week's episode. I'm going to go and try and relax, rest, have some respite, obviously speak to a few people beforehand, get some emails off. But I hope you're having a lovely week, and I am looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. Obviously, Christmas is around the corner. There's so many cool things happening at Eddie's Emporium that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. And of course, if you do have any questions, drop a comment, DM me, say hi, whatever you'd like to do, and we'll have a little natter, a little chatter, and yeah, have a lovely rest of your week. Ciao.